was December 1944. The Allies were celebrating in Europe. After a bloody but successful Normandy invasion in June, Paris was recaptured in August. In fact, much of Western Europe had been relieved, and preparations were underway for the invasion of Germany herself in the spring. Confidence was high among the American troops. By December 15th, American generals were ordering a sumptuous Christmas dinner for all the troops. The soldiers themselves were wondering when they would be sent home. The war seemed to be over, and yet, at the same time, the Germans were planning a massive offensive, and one of the bloodiest battles in history was about to commence. This was the Battle of the Bulge. 1,400 German Panzer and Tiger tanks were hidden in the snow. Stronger and more resilient than the American Sherman tanks, these machines of death were lined up, coordinated, and ready. When the German Operation Watch on the Rhine commenced, the Allies were caught napping, literally. Over the next few days, Germany was winning again. Their advance was so severe that the outcome of the war was on the line. Fortunes had reversed. What made this possible? Bad weather. A low-pressure system guaranteed low visibility and a grounding of the American air cover, and it lasted day after day. The Germans had the weather report. It looked favorable for them and miserable for the Americans. This was one of those snatching defeat from the jaws of victory moments. Western civilization was on the line, and some important lessons we must learn were learned then. First, it wasn't the Germans were better positioned. They were still outmanned and weaker by most measures, but they had the element of surprise. They had planning, they had initiative, and they had determination. By contrast, the Americans thought they'd won. They were complacent, and they were blind. Eventually, the Allied forces won, but it literally took prayer, grit, and more than a few miracles. I share this because it sort of sums up where we are today. You know how severe the challenges to America had been? And during COVID and after, we fought hard for liberty, security, and values. Then President Trump won the election, returned to the White House, and began issuing executive orders, reversing so many scary things. Congress passed the OBBB, the One Big Beautiful Bill. We won! It's time to get back to life. Just like the American soldiers before the Battle of the Bulge, many people believed the war to be over. But I'm here to tell you it's not. And our complacency puts us at risk. This is a warning. Don't quit and keep your eyes open. Just like in December 1944, visibility seemed low, but the enemies of liberty are preparing a massive new assault. Are you ready? To explore this, I've invited my colleague Mike Carter for a discussion of what he is seeing on the front lines. Mike's been a true leader in getting our pirate money legislation passed this year. 5 states, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, Texas, and Missouri. A combined $5 trillion in economic activity. These states represent what would be the 3rd largest economy on the planet. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Kevin. Great to be on Economic War Room today.
Oh, well, congratulations to you. You've helped lead the initiative to get this passed in all those states. You've done great work. That got the legislation passed. What does it mean?
Well, first of all, it was a team effort, so we helped facilitate that. We had a great team of people and grassroots that were part of making that happen. But the legislation is passed, as you said, in 5 states now, and I think we're going to see even more states happen as we move into the next legislative session.
So it's done. We can all go home,
I'd
right?
like to think that. I mean, you were using that analogy, the Battle of the Bulge. I think the Germans were ready to go in, and that bulge was they were crossing the line into enemy territory, adversaries on each side. I think we've got the bulge. We've moved. We've seen some groups out there that weren't necessarily for this saying, well, wait a second, what's going on here? Why is the legislation a little bit different in each state? How do we combat this? Well, now that we're kind of through that defensive line there, we got to be careful that they don't come around to the sides of us and catch us. And what that means is we've got to really focus on the implementation. How do we make this become a reality in each of these states we've passed it in?
We did win, but it doesn't mean the war's over. We won certain battles. I get this question all the time. You probably do too. Okay, you passed it. When do I get my debit card so I can spend my Texas money or my Arkansas money? That hasn't happened yet, though, has it?
Not happened yet, but well on our way. I think Arkansas is probably the most nimble, can move the quickest. But Florida is finalizing their rules and guidelines now, and will be up in 2026. Texas says 2027. But if we get the right comptroller, I think we'll see something different there. Missouri's got a lot of different rules that are implemented and officially law right now, but they don't have the bullion depository. And Louisiana's got rules that also recognize gold and silver as legal tender. They recognize electronic transfer. But how does it get executed? How do we move forward from there? And you're right, I'm getting calls all the time from people excited that this is done, but it's how do I get the card now? What do I do? And we've got to go to the next step to help these treasurers, to help those that are administering it, say, all right, this is how it works. This is how you can implement the system and get this to where quickly we'll see household penetration and people getting cards in the states they live in, or those that in states that don't, going to Arkansas or Texas or Florida and saying, I'm going to get a Texas or Florida card for now.
Okay, so you cannot get your card yet. We're working on it. We have the rulemaking portion. You know, that's after the battle, we've got to clean up and get it working. But here's the other thing, Mike. You and I were traveling the country earlier this year, last year, the year before, talking about central bank digital currency. We were talking about the debt problem. We're talking about inflation. And those are very real problems that we have not killed.
Yeah.
They are still there.
Debanking was another one.
Debanking. And yet we're now seeing a lot of places where I go and speak, and I say, hey, you won, congratulations, now I want my card and I'll go home. We can't have that level of complacency.
No. And then I saw where President Trump signed an executive order against debanking now. But that's an executive order, which you and I both know what that means. When he's gone, next administration comes in, back to business as usual again. No, we've got to make sure that these ideas, what Trump is doing is fantastic. Executive orders make a difference, but they're not necessarily law. And we've got to take advantage of this time we have now, this surprise win we've had, this momentum that we're seeing, to make sure that we get legislation that makes a difference, that protects liberty, security, and values. And that means the grassroots need to be more engaged than they've ever been before. While we've got the momentum, we've got to take advantage of that momentum.
And it's going to require visibility. I mean, one of the risks that we have is that people stop looking at, the problem's done, and they stop looking and they just go home. I mean, George Washington wanted to, after the Revolutionary War, go home to the farm, but he had to be called back. We need you as president, General Washington, so we had to go back. That's where we are today. We're in the in-between. We've won some battles. We have more battles to come. I want to explore the risks that we're facing, and I want to try and give visibility, because using the Patton analogy, not only were they complacent, but the bad weather took away their visibility, so they couldn't see what's happening.
Yeah, and I know we're going to have to take a break in just a sec, but those battles that we've won have been nothing short of miracles. God has done it. We've had this great breakthrough, but I can only say it's because God has been doing it.
And we need more God to continue, we're the same God, obviously, but to continue and bring us more miracles, because the visibility's kind of disappeared for people. They don't really understand what's going on, and we need to strategize how we can prevent and turn back a counteroffensive that's on its way. We'll be right back. In uncertain times, finding stability in the economy can feel challenging. But what if you could navigate economic volatility while honoring your biblical values? At Timothy Plan, they believe this balance is possible. Timothy Plan filters its volatility-weighted ETFs and family of mutual funds through a biblical pro-life and pro-family lens, so you can see competitive returns and moral responsibility, helping you to weather the economic storms. With Timothy Plan, align your investments with your values while adapting to our ever-changing culture. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has been recognized leader in biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, your bridge between faith, finances, and the future. Visit timothyplan.com or call 1-800-TIM-PLAN or 1-800-846-7526. Investing includes risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com.
Gold holds its value far better than the US dollar. Let's see what happens when I go in this sweet shop and pay with gold. Can I pay with gold?
I mean, you can wait, find out how much it costs.
Do you know what? Basically, do you know why I'm even using gold?
I do not.
It holds its value over time,
Yeah.
but it's a bit difficult to spend, isn't it? Do you take this?
Yes.
That's MasterCard. Yeah, but I'm actually going to pay with gold, believe it or not, using this. That's my MasterCard, and it's linked to my gold wallet. So let's just watch that. Authorizing. Yeah, add a tip.
Thank you.
So this is your store?
Yes, sir.
And how much gold did I pay?
0.2 0.2243 grams.
Yeah, success. Bought with gold, paid with glint.
All right, Mike, we've been talking about the threats that we face. Originally, I mean, we've been at this, you and I, for well over 10 years. And we talk about the global threats, the red, which is communism, the green, which is radical Islam, and the blue, which is globalism. And the economies, the threats, big government, regulation, socialism, inflation, recession, the threats to personal liberty. You mentioned one, which was debanking. And the threat to our values. You know, can we stand up for what we believe in? So where are we now? Do you think the battle's over? Have we won?
Well, the battle's not over. We haven't won. And the threats to our values and can we stand up for what we believe in, I think becomes the question, what do we believe in America today? The recent data I'm seeing out there is like 40%, I think, of Democrats believe in socialism now. So a majority, or 40% believe in capitalism. I think a majority of it believed in socialism. I heard from Gen Z the other day, a person says, well, what difference does it really make if our government is standing for liberty, security, and values? There's plenty of Christians in all these other countries, and they're growing in their faith. And God has it all under control. So whatever He does, I'm good with that. Yet we had our American men and women defending our country, defending our freedoms. We have our Constitution. We have a country and a Constitution I believe God has given us. But I'm not sure we've got that unified vision anymore that we need to have. And it doesn't take a lot, but we've got to start to work together to say, all right, let's get that vision back together, and let's work together where we can.
Well, where we see, there are more persecution of Christians than at any point in history. We see, let's back up to World War II. Why did we enter that war? Would it have been okay to leave Hitler alone and let him kill all the Jews in Germany? Would that have been okay? And invade his neighbors and do all the things that he did. So they stood up. There was a partnership between God and man, as there has been throughout all of recorded history, where God says, look, I want to see liberty, security, values. I want to see people have the opportunity to live their lives, love justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with their God. But there are times when there's such evil that we have to stand up against it. One of those times was at the time that was faced in World War II. And we had the Battle of the Bulge, and we had a general, a kind of rough and tumble general, General George S. Patton. Blood and Guts was his nickname. And I just got this book, Alex Kershaw's book, Patton's Prayer, a true story of courage, faith, and victory in World War II. He wanted to do what's right. He wanted to relieve Germany. He wanted to end, he's a Nazi. They're a Nazi. They literally were Nazis. Well, he's Hitler. He literally was Hitler, and he wanted to solve that war, win that war, and the weather was not cooperating, complacency. So I want to read the prayer that he ordered a chaplain to write. It said, Almighty and most merciful Father, we humbly beseech Thee of Thy great goodness to restrain these immoderate rains with which we've had to contend. Grant us fair weather for battle. Graciously hearken to us soldiers who call upon Thee, that armed with Thy power we may advance from victory to victory, crush the oppression and wickedness of our enemies, and establish Thy justice among men and nations. Amen. George S. Patton, Jr. That's an incredible book. That's an incredible prayer.
It is, and it's not what you think of. You think of General Patton never giving up and always moving forward.
And never relying on God or anything but General Patton.
But yes, but there, and that story is not told enough, so I'm glad you're sharing that today. It is the power of prayer that's going to make the difference. And we need that more than ever now, because we have people debating our Constitution. Do our rights come from the government, or do they come from God? Well, if our rights come from the government, we saw what Hitler did with that kind of thinking. That's certainly not what we want to see happening in America today.
Our founders, in the Declaration of Independence, literally said our rights come from God, and that's the secret to America's success. And here, Senator Tim Kaine from Virginia said, no, rights come from government.
Yeah. And that's where I think we as Americans, and we as Christians and grassroots America, and not a Christian nationalist thing, but just liberty-minded, patriotic Americans need to come back and say, okay, what do we have in this Constitution? What do we stand for? And then how do we as the grassroots go out and make sure that we're protecting those principles that so many before us have given our lives to protect? To sit back now and just say, okay, it's all taken care of, or I'll let the politicians do it, and I'm too busy, and my apps and everything else, somebody else is going to do it. That's not what America is.
You know, that complacency, I would encourage you to go back and watch Battle of the Bulge. I watched it again recently. It is my, you know, some people say their favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard. I think Battle of the Bulge is my favorite Christmas movie because everything turned bad and it took a Christmas miracle. But
the Battle of the Bulge is my biggest challenge. It's usually in my stomach after I ate too many Christmas cookies, so maybe I can shift that to just good movie watching without the snacks.
Good movie watching. All right, so we need to prepare now because people are too complacent. I mean, here I'm just going to list some of the things. Abortion is one. Roe versus Wade has been overturned. If you believe in life, here's from Axios, June 23rd. The number of abortions in the U.S. continued to rise in 2024, totaling 1.14 million, despite years of bans and restrictions on reproductive care, according to a national report. There's more abortion now than ever before, despite we thought we won.
And we make it simple with an easy pill now. Supposedly easy, but very dangerous potentially to the moms and certainly fatal to the life.
Yep. So, but we thought we'd won? Sorry, yep. There's still fight. Inflation's beaten. I look at the USDebtClock.org, almost $37.5 trillion. I don't think inflation can be beaten when we're racking up debt that rapidly. The border's closed. Here's a good one. U.S. unauthorized immigrant population reached a record 14 million in 2023, according to Pew Research, 14 million. But then you go to 2024 and it was 16 million. Good news, the border is closed. No illegal crossings that we know of, but only 1.6 million people have left or been deported. So we still have 14.2 million illegal aliens, which is more than it peaked at in 2023. So despite all the hard work, there's lots of work to be done.
And the injustice, this is not just about compassion. We've seen the sex slaves, human trafficking, all that stuff that's going on from that. This is not compassionate for those folks. Many working for way below minimum wage labor, don't have freedoms. We're seeing that, all these geopolitical things. So that Battle of the Bulge analogy, where we think we've won, but what do we have surrounding us right now that we've got to be aware of as citizens? You know, the debt, immigration. You just listed off those things. Those are things that are surrounding us, and we've got to make sure that we continue to push forward and get our voices heard and get involved at the grassroots level to make sure that liberty, security, and values stand in America.
You know, here's a good quote. When we get surrounded, we need resolve. The commander at Dunkirk, when they were surrounded by German forces, wired back, but if not, meaning we're not going to bow our knee. Even if you wipe us out, we will not bow our knee. The commander at Bastogne, which had been surrounded, the American commander was Anthony McAuliffe of the 101st Airborne Division. You know what his answer was when they said, you must surrender? His one-word answer was nuts. Love the American brevity. All right, we're going to cover this and more when we come right back after a break.
I'm outside Babe's, which I'm told is the quintessential chicken restaurant here in Roanoke, Texas. Let's go and see if we can buy the food in here, chicken with gold.
This is gonna be the fried chicken.
This is unbelievable. How am I going to fit all this in? I seriously actually don't know how to begin with this. This is so overwhelming. Do you think I can pay with gold?
I don't know. You may have to ask the cashier. I don't handle it.
Can I pay with gold? But actually, you said I could pay with this? Okay, I'm going to pay with this, but I'm going to pay with gold. So look at the price of gold going up. That's pretty cool, yeah? Right, this is Babes, yeah? How much gold did I pay? Gold, how many grams?
0.26.
0.26, quarter of a gram of gold. How about that?
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Success! Bought with gold, paid with glint.
Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government, and freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It has to be fought for and defended by each generation.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
In this most critical time in our nation's history, now more than ever, Americans need to align with companies that support our constitutional rights and God-given freedoms. Patriot Mobile supports your values and provides exceptional 100% U.S.-based customer service. Join the movement today. Go to patriotmobile.com or call 972-PATRIOT.
Mike, we're talking about complacency. I just got this from Heritage Foundation. It is uncovering radical efforts to disguise DEI. And people know what DEI is. It basically means diversity, equity, inclusion, which is a standard. We're going to favor racial quotas. We're going to do non-economic things. We're going to, honestly, it's doing the opposite of what's fair in order to appear fair. Mm-hmm. And here it is. Not only does the covert DEI continuation undermine President Trump's executive authority, but the programs directly violate federal civil rights laws. And there are all of these hidden things where they say one thing, we've abandoned DEI, and then they're still doing it behind the scenes. You and I were at a conference together, how major universities were still using DEI and ESG programs because they have a little hidden thing in their charter that says that they can do whatever necessary to maintain their accreditation.
Yeah, and we're seeing Harvard just fought back and won their lawsuit, getting some of their federal funds back for research out there. We've seen other schools, though, say, okay, we're going to comply, we want our federal funding. Trump has done a great job of trying to coerce through financial means the right behavior, the right thing to do. But again, that's all likely to change in the next administration.
Or it's still in there, they're hiding it, they just rebranded and changed the name on it. And so the battle's not won yet. Or the battle was won, but the war is still raging.
And DEI is the same as affirmative action, everything else. It's been going on for as long as my career. I mean, I've seen different elements of this thing gotten more and more present, as we move forward, and more bold. But we're seeing it doesn't work. It's not the answer.
But it's still, Mamdani in New York shows that we haven't won. Here's a rabid socialist, Islamist, globalist, and he's leading as potential mayor for the largest city in the United States.
That's because socialism and communism has not been done right, Kevin.
Yeah, that's what they say. So beware the counteroffensive, where they come back. We think we have a victory. Central bank digital currency's gone away, and yet they're bringing back the stable coins, which might be just a privatized form of central bank digital currency. We're seeing the red-blue axis continue, and we're seeing voting apathy in very conservative areas where Democrats won, where Trump won by 20 points or more, and somehow a Democrat wins a special election. We're seeing we're not winning like we think we're winning. Here's Tony Perkins, Democracy Dies in Denial, September 7th, 2025, from Washington Stand, where he's talking about, you brought this up earlier, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine berated a State Department nominee for affirming the American principle that our rights come from God, not government, calling that view very, very troubling and likening it to the ideology of Iran's theocracy. They're trying to take God out of the public square again. I thought we'd won that battle. We have to keep fighting. Reminds you of what President Reagan said, right?
Yeah,
every generation.
Yes, we're right on the edge of that. And then you throw in AI and misinformation and what that can potentially do. And if we're not raising critical thinkers, it's going to be so easy to type in and say, okay, what's the answer to this? Oh, well, my AI told me that? Okay, I guess that's the answer. Now, we've got to be eyes wide open with what's going on out there.
Who programmed the AI?
Yeah, good question.
That's the question.
Yeah. And there's good AI and bad AI. And I believe that God can, he invented math, he invented all these things that can be used for great things as well. But in the wrong hands, it can be evil.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're celebrating. We've had some victories. All was impossible. It looked like Dunkirk. And we got through COVID, and we're restoring some of our medical freedoms. We're seeing some of the mandates on the vaccine and things coming down, so people have individual, and we're seeing advances in healthcare. RFK Jr. has got a lot of people excited and a lot of people angry, and there's a counteroffensive against him. We're seeing executive orders that are helpful. They're not permanent. We're seeing some things made permanent in law. We're educating people, but now is not the time to give up, right?
And I will tell you that those on the left, those against liberty, are trying to double down. They're trying to figure out what went wrong. So far, they're having a hard time with that messaging, but they're all in to say, okay, we're gonna figure out how to turn this thing around. And once they get that, there's going to be something that happens, and we're going to be caught in our surprise mode. Like, where did that come from?
That battle of the Bulge counterinsurgency could happen. All right, here's good news. You learned this. You drugged me with you to multiple states. We go in and talk to the legislators, and we had our colleague Laurie go with us, and Marnie went with us, and we had great success. But the reason for the success was relationships. And you really led the way. You've got first name basis with a lot of these legislators. Here's the problem. When we win and we elected them, they'll do their job and go away. But if we don't maintain relationships, the only people they'll see will be complainers. And the complainers now are those on the other side that want the DEI, that want women in men and women's sports, that want men and women's bathrooms and so forth.
And we saw that with that whole ESG movement, right? So we had Bulge saying, please, let's hear somebody from the other side, and because everything we're getting is DEI. We've got to do this. We're forced into this. We don't have a counterbalance. We don't have a voice on the other side. And that's where we as citizens need to be aware of LSV. We're making sure that our liberties are protected in every element that we work in out there.
And it's the time to build the relationships. You go in and say, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for your vote on this. And we need to walk in Austin for Texans, or in Oklahoma City for those in Oklahoma, or Tallahassee for Florida, just as much as we did to fight to push back the bad. We now have to build the relationships so we can build on the good. Week in and week out, we explain the battle. This is an economic war. It's really a spiritual battle for the soul of humanity. America is the last best hope for mankind, and this is not a time for complacency. Right, Mike?
Absolutely right. And the good news is, as we're building this legislative network out there on transactional gold and silver, these legislators are coming back and saying, what else are you guys working on? Help me understand. They like the grassroots. They like seeing that we've got people and tools to help get this message out there.
And we're working with financial advisors to help weaponize money. We're working in for culture and Hollywood type projects. We've got a project on AI that we're doing. We're taking on the Federal Reserve with pirate money. We're taking on Hollywood. We're taking on Google. We're taking on Wall Street, and we're taking on Washington. That's 5 enemies. We've got 5 smooth stones, right?
Yeah, and we need each one of you out there actively getting involved. Don't just watch these shows and say it's nice to have. Share these shows. Read the battle plans. Get up to speed on that. Reach out to your legislators. Now is the time that we don't get surprised. We stay on the offensive, and we protect liberty, security, and values.
Oh, thank you, Mike, for being on the front lines. Thank you for the lessons that we can learn from the Battle of the Bulge and how you've been applying them, not getting complacent. This is not a time to get complacent. This is time to get active. If you want to win, if you want liberty, security, and values for our future, you've got to get in the fight now. We're going to summarize all of this in our free economic battle plan. You can get a free copy at economicwarroom.com. You'll learn there where you have a place and you have a role in making a difference. Remember, what we see as a marketplace, our enemies view as a battle space. This is Kevin Freeman from the Economic War Room.